John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast. John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
Next shot, bang.
Doesn't matter if you're black or white. It looks like I'm on the white screen. Ken Flo's on the black screen. A little yin and yang today. If you're watching on the DraftKings YouTube channel, we appreciate that. Wherever you may be ingesting this program, audio or video-wise, thank you. We never take your viewership for granted, especially on a day like today. It is Monday, April 7th. The year's 2025. It's episode 545 of the Anik Florian Podcast, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Ken Flo, 10-year anniversary of the program is coming up Wednesday, April 9th. So we launched this thing April 9th, 2015. At a time when some were like, oh, dude and dudes, there are way too many podcasts already. And here we are, Ken Flo, 10 years in, and I guess still having, like, not the perfect video and audio. I guess it's pretty fitting.
Yeah, exactly. I look very mysterious, though. What is going on? At least I'm not yellow like I was the last couple of weeks. We'll get this right eventually, John. Yeah, I think actually we got in at a pretty good time. There wasn't like a million podcasts. Now there's like a million podcasts. There's just so many. But we got in at a good time. Glad we did it. And here we are.
But there's only one Kenny Florian. There's only one human weapon like Kenny Florian. So we're happy to continue to present his analytics to you. And as always, at Anik Florian Pod, if you want to follow and support the show and give us suggestions as to what you want to see on the program. Yes, I know you'd like me to book Habib Nurmagomedov, and maybe we'll accomplish that initiative here in 2025. A lot to get to today, as always. Big weekend for Manchester, England's Lerone Murphy. We will recap the piss out of that with Ray Longo. We will also talk to the CFFC general manager, John Morgan. We'll get a little nostalgic with John Morgan, who joined us on the very first episode of this program 10 years ago, Wednesday. Also want to direct you to UFC Fight Pass if you happen to be a subscriber. We did the Anik Florian Rewind, Kenny, and we watched back not only Diego Lopes's UFC debut against Movsar Evloev, but we watched back Alexander Volkanovski's UFC debut against Yusuke Kasuya in 2016. And I just wanted to get an opening comment from you on that, because I think we both, and I know you got this steel trap memory, but I think we both sort of marveled at just how good he was all the way back then, even though here we are 9 years later and he's a much more refined problem.
Yeah, I think there was something about him just coming on the scene and having a debut guy where you're kind of not paying attention to those guys who are early on in their career. And I think that was probably the case for me. But yeah, this was a guy that was extremely well-rounded, came in as more of a grappler, and people kind of tend to forget that. But just an extremely powerful guy with a lot of skills already, and has only gotten better really over time. So it was cool to see that. And also a reminder of how these guys match up and what potential strategies they may employ.
We have looked at several fights for Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes on UFC Fight Pass. And this is not a cheap plug, actually, by the way, but it is interesting to look back upon that footage. My biggest takeaway, I guess, from Volkanovski is just how much he switches stances now compared to them just then. Much more sophisticated striker now. I think we also look back at his fight against Brian Ortega. You can catch that Anik Florian Rewind at UFC Fight Pass. We also look back at a Diego Lopes Lux Fighting Championship win. So check out the latest iteration of the Rewind over there on UFC Fight Pass. Ray Longo coming up in about 15 minutes. First, though, Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. All right, featherweight main event. Pretty loud at the Apex. Some boos raining down upon Lerone Murphy after the win over Josh Emmett, to which he says, easy work, 16-0. What? And if you're 16-0 in mixed martial arts, what else can be said? 49-46 and then 48-47 times 2. Ken Flo, your thoughts on what I thought was just a clean effort out of Lerone Murphy in getting past the uber dangerous Josh Emmett?
It was. This was a guy that really did his homework, came in very disciplined. I talked about that heading into this fight, that he was going to have to mind his P's and Q's and be on point with his defense. It was certainly that. Largely was able to avoid a lot of those big, clean shots from Josh Emmett. And yeah, I thought it was a really good performance. And, he was kind of keeping this undefeated streak alive quietly. And while people may not have loved his performance at times, I think that he's not doing it so quietly now. This is a contender that you need to take very, very seriously if you're in the 145-pound division in the UFC.
Inactivity has been a big part of the issue for Lerone Murphy in terms of fan resonation, if you will. But I liked hearing him say, give me top 5, top 3, right? He's just looking for a top 5 guy, trying to stay active now. He mentioned July. We sit here April 7th, so that's particularly exciting. It's a layered game. And as he said with Michael Bisping after the fact, there are only so many ways in which you fight Josh Emmett. And I do want to get to Josh in all of this, right? But you have to mitigate and manage risk, right? So I think the expectation from some fans is a little bit too lofty in terms of maybe you're shaking your head, right? I mean, I just feel like you have to avoid the danger and the big shot, and largely he did.
Well, it's one of the things I was thinking about in regards to one of the guys we're going to talk about later, Michael Chandler. And you can't name a champion fighter who's been consistent throughout his career and is consistently getting wins, who is only going to have exciting performances. You're just not going to have it. You have to make a decision as a fighter, and especially as a guy who has the belt eventually or trying to get the belt, as to whether you want to be exciting or whether you want to be a winner. And you can't really have both and be exciting for every single fight, because you're going to have various levels of danger. Josh Emmett is a guy that if he catches it clean, not only is he going to beat you, but he's going to take your head off, and you may not be the same after that fight. He has that kind of power. Look at his damn back and look at some of his previous knockouts. So you have to be smart in this game. Mike Tyson, who is known as one of the biggest brutes, one of the most powerful guys in heavyweight boxing history, said, strong guys with power, you get all the time. You need someone with smarts in this game, and that is very, very true.
Bro, track meet at my daughter's school in South Florida a few days ago, and who starts walking over the bleachers? Fucking Mike Tyson.
No, get out of here,
bro.
Really?
Of all people, right? Unmistakable, right? He has a tattoo on his face, if you haven't heard.
Wow.
Right? No, but I mean, of all legends, right? And I'm there with my son, and
that's sick.
Sort of a flash in my head is like, all right, dude, this is the lone opportunity of your life for your son to get a picture with Mike Tyson, right? But I'm just not even all about that. I didn't even say hello. I let him do his thing, but he was more than willing to mingle, which was cool to see him with the
That's awesome.
The crowd. But yes, your points on Lerone Murphy and the danger factor with Josh Emmett are all well taken. And I always like to talk about this, right? Because it is hard to be equal parts elite and exciting. And there's only a handful of fighters who have accomplished that feat. John Jones, I think we would both argue, is one of the more exciting mixed martial arts athletes of all time. Double-digit decision wins in the UFC, right? George St. Pierre, double-digit decision wins in the UFC, right? That means 10 or more decision wins in the UFC for both of those two gentlemen, and no Mount Rushmore really begins without the two of those guys. So
John Anik's got my back with facts, yo. Let's go.
So in terms of Josh Emmett, and we'll circle back to some matchmaking on Lerone Murphy, time permitting. We do have some Would You Rathers coming up for Ray Longo, and the masses have asked for Kenny Florian to be participatory in that exercise. They like when we make you laugh, but they want you to have to answer those. And somebody else said, and Kenny's good because he can get in and out, right? Like he doesn't need a bunch of seconds to either be funny or things like that. So we will hear from you when it comes to Would You Rather. And thanks to everybody joining us live on YouTube today. 10-year anniversary of the Anik and Florian podcast. We're trying to go 15 years with this thing, at least. We'll see if it happens. So Josh Emmett. So, oh man, there's a lot to unpack, right? The inability largely to get over the proverbial hump when it comes to these big fights, whether it was the UFC interim championship fight against Yair Rodriguez or this one or a select big spot here or there. Team Alpha Male had an Instagram post and they sort of suggested that Josh Emmett is just getting started. Now, he's 40 years old. He certainly has dealt with some injuries and some layoffs and some circumstance. Now, he was very competitive against the undefeated Lerone Murphy. I'd imagine if you look far and wide, you could find a scorecard out there for Josh. Maybe not, right? But he hasn't been able to get over the hump, and I'm trying to get to the why. So in round 5, I don't know that we're trying to grapple or wrestle, so I think you could maybe fault the IQ a little bit there. And I would say maybe if you're really leaning into the power, maybe you just don't wrestle nor grapple nearly as much as he did in this fight. And even if that means you end up getting pieced up or knocked out, so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, his way that he was going to win this fight was on the feet, was landing one of those big shots. And I think that if we're talking about that aspect, John, I think his footwork suffers a little bit. His ability to get in with proper feints, to get into the proper range, is going to be tough against a guy like Lerone Murphy, who moves extremely well, against someone who's flat-footed, who really doesn't know how to move in and out. Like, let's say Bryce Mitchell, for example, then yeah, okay, that may work. But against those elite guys with the elite footwork, the Ilia Topurias and such, Yair Rodriguez, it's going to be tough for him to catch those kind of guys. Your ability to get power off the floor is your ability to get low to the ground, but that's not so conducive to mobility. And I think that's where Josh Emmett is trying to figure that out. And then, okay, if you have a great submission game, yeah, maybe take him down. If you're really good at chasing the back and getting these crazy leg locks, then that might be the choice for someone like that. But yeah, Josh Emmett isn't that guy either.
Right.
So yeah, that's where his struggles are kind of lacking.
And I'm sure he'd agree with us on the round 5 takedown. Your left hand and your right hand are made of steel. So try to land one of those lunch boxes. Well, we congratulate Lerone Murphy. And in terms of sort of the style points or lack thereof on this win, I would just say in any other sport, this would just be clean and celebrated, right? As if you're playing basketball. And yet here you need entertainment points somehow, right, which is a tricky proposition. 16-0, easy work, as Lerone Murphy said. And as we spin it forward, right, Movsar Evloev is the number 4 ranked contender. He wants to stay active. To that end, rumors are swirling that he's going to welcome Aaron Pico to the UFC. And my goodness, I just have buckets of respect for Movsar Evloev. We bring him up in the context of this featherweight win for Lerone Murphy and what I am calling UFC 314 Volkanovski versus Lopes, the biggest night in the history of the UFC featherweight division this weekend. So we have the rankings here populated for us privately. What are you doing with Lerone Murphy if, in fact, you could turn him around as soon as, say, International Fight Week in June? Or I guess that wouldn't happen, but July or August for Lerone. Any name there on the tip of your tongue?
Well, I think a fight against Brian Ortega would be interesting. Ortega hasn't fought in a little while. I don't think he has anything scheduled on the books, does he?
Nope.
Yeah, I think that would be a really interesting fight. Put him up against Ortega, who's ranked a little higher than him. You beat Ortega, and then kind of you put yourself now into the conversation anyway to be maybe one fight away from getting a shot after that.
All right, so this weekend, just to sort of tie it in here, so Dan Ige faces Sean Woodson in the featured prelim on ESPN. Dan Ige, the plus 130 underdog right now. He's number 15 in the world, right? So Sean Woodson is favored to get a ranking on this fight card. Then you have Yair Rodriguez, who is number 5 in the world, taking on the unranked Patricio Pitbull, as decorated a fighter to ever come into the UFC, at least based on resume. You have Bryce Mitchell and Jean Lord Silva. I guess Lord Silva's unranked at present. Bryce Mitchell holding it down, number 13. And then you have the undisputed title on the line, Ken Flo. Number 3, Diego Lopes, taking on the division's number 1 ranked contender, Alexander Volkanovski. Now, with respect to Jose Aldo and Max Holloway and Conor McGregor and I guess you could argue, McGregor, Jose Aldo was the biggest night in UFC featherweight history, okay? But that night notwithstanding, humor me for a second. Ken Flo, Darren Elkins and Julian Erosa in the featherweight division on the prelims. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the biggest night in UFC featherweight history. Things are going to look drastically different when we reconvene on April 14th.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of really intriguing matchups. The one that I'm looking forward to a lot, obviously, besides the main event, is the John Silva and Bryce Mitchell. That one's going to be fire.
And dude, Yair, right?
Yeah.
Looking like a wrestler in training out there with Bilal Muhammad and coming off 2 straight losses. So, man, welcome to the UFC, Patricio Pitbull.
Not an easy fight for him. Yeah.
All right, so Longo coming up in 5 minutes. I want to be efficient when it comes to this UFC Fight Night Emmett versus Murphy card. Pat Sabatini, Ken Flo, over Joe Anderson Brito by unanimous decision. A couple of 30-26 is in there. Philadelphia kid on his best night, man, is a real, force to be reckoned with.
I told Peachy, you got to watch out for this kid. And I like the fact that, again, that he was a guy who had some good results. Even when he was losing, he had some good moments. And sometimes he would struggle a little bit with that chin up in the air and when he was forced to strike a little bit, but he was clearly a very talented grappler. And when I heard that he was working with a sports psychologist, said this is going to help him because it's not because he's not losing because he's not talented or doesn't have the ability. He clearly has the ability. Maybe it's something going on upstairs, and to see him kind of put it together now and get consistency and to do it against a guy in Joe Anderson Brito who is really, really dangerous. I thought that was a tremendous win. People have been sleeping on this guy's grappling ability for a little while, and I think Brito's grappling ability has been, I think exaggerated a little bit. I think that's where he has struggled, so I really like that matchup for Sabatini, and boy, did he make it count.
We did talk a week ago about Dean Thomas speaking superlatively about Pat Sabatini and skill for skill, just how good he compares with the likes of Sean Brady and Joe Pyfer and everybody else that has talent in that pocket of the Northeast here in the United States. And Pat Sabatini, man, really interesting fighter with which to contend potentially for someone in the bottom half of that top 15. Did you happen to see that lip cut, by the way, Kenny?
Jeez.
That was Daniel Frunza, sorry if I don't have the pronunciation for you, bro. I mean, forget Alistair Overeem against Jairzinho Rosenstrike.
Well, actually, I did miss it initially. I said, well, the guy's hurt. He's going to come in. The eye is really swollen. And then when we saw the close-up, the camera, I go, oh, there it is. Yeah, that makes sense. But, dude, that guy is so damn tough. And he wanted to continue fighting. And it was easy to miss because I was looking at all the action, all the big shots, and I was looking at his eye. But when the camera panned towards that lip, dude, that was bad.
All right, Petrie likes this Chong Ho Lee. He gets by Cortavius Romeus. TKO comes at the 3:48 mark of round 2. Ken Flo, your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, this is a good grappler. I liked him in that matchup, and maybe not as strongly as Brian Petrie, but BP was spot on with that one. I think that his grappling really stood out to me. And I think that, like, for Cortavius being the smaller guy in there, I think it was tough for him to get into proper range and all that stuff. So I thought it was a great win there for Chong Ho Lee.
Brad Tavares getting interviewed by Michael Bisping as he ties him for the most wins in UFC middleweight history. I thought it was cool. What'd you make of the fight between Tavares and Gerald Meerschaert? Unanimous decision, 29-28 times 3 for BT.
Well, I thought that Tavares looked fantastic, and I think it was a great matchup for him. He tends to shine best against jiu-jitsu guys that may be very good on the ground, but maybe don't have the best takedowns. And Meerschaert showed some really good improvement on the feet with his striking, was shifting stances, landing some good shots on Tavares, especially a little bit later in the fight, but just couldn't get things done. Where he was able to get to a really strong position. He was close to the back. I think it was round 3, maybe. But Tavares did a great job of staying patient, keeping that cage behind him, not allowing Meerschaert to get to that back position, because Meerschaert gets to your back, he's probably going to finish. So Tavares did a good job of staying disciplined there, working, doing his homework clearly. And he just those legs, man, he's so tough to take down, especially up against the cage. And, did what he needed to do to get that win, but really shined early on in that fight with the striking as well, putting together some really sharp combinations.
All right, congratulations to Brad Tavares. Plenty more coming up on UFC Fight Night with Longo. Bottom of the hour here in 60 seconds. First, though, my guys, you ever lift a little too hard or just forget to apply your daily deodorant and get hit by a truckload of body odor from all directions? No? Does that 3-in-1 shampoo leave you needing a second shower just a few hours after the first? Well, you don't always get the chance to endorse products as good as this. I'm telling you, though, Mando is the goods. Mando whole body deodorant, helping men conquer their odor in a new way. It's formulated with mandelic acid, long-lasting 72-hour odor control that actually stops odor before it starts. And the best part is you really can put Mando everywhere. Pits, packages, feet, skin folds, back, knees, everywhere. And anyone who knows me well knows I'm a sweater. Mando has these body deodorant wipes that I keep with me. I have them in the car. I use them regularly. They've been a real game changer for me. Also, Mando's cologne, high quality. Clearly, these scents were created with men in mind. Bestseller is Bourbon Leather. Bestseller for a reason, Ken Flo. Right now, we got a special offer. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code and link. Use code AFPOD at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Mando, created by a doctor, clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap. America's #1 whole body deodorant. You can find it at Walmart and Target, but for the best deals, shopmando.com with code AFPOD. Special offer for our listeners. Starter pack, perfect for new customers, and you can get free shipping on this as well. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack with code AFPOD at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support the Anik Florian Podcast. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. All right, from Mando to Longo, let's get to Ray.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast.
Look at him! Look at the motherfucker! That's what I'm talking.
Oh, Ray Longo.
Oh, where's my? Oh boy.
Hey,
Yeah,
stay there, Kenny.
Kenny,
Hey.
oh yeah, Ken Flo.
Yeah.
Look
Who's
at
that guy?
Look at that. 4 champs, John. When's your shirt coming? What size are you?
That is an amazing shirt. If you are audio only, as many of the people who take on this show are, Kenny has a Ray Longo t-shirt with all 4 of your UFC champions. Ray, that looks
Very
like a
proud of-
specialty item. Where do you get those?
Oh man, just go to bafangul.com. You'll get as many as you want.
So is there a way to get that t-shirt or no? You just want to fuck with people. I don't want one, but maybe some of your Minutemen do.
That is right now there's no way. You got to come to the school.
You got to go to
Okay.
Garden
All right.
City.
All right, if you want to
We'll
go to
get you
Garden
one.
City for the best
Yeah.
t-shirt you've ever seen, that's where it actually resides. I actually gave all my Ray Longo Minute t-shirts to Goodwill recently. I'm not even kidding. This guy coming on here I might be sensitive, right? Fighters, commentators, maybe I'm sensitive, but when you come on here and call me unprofessional, you think I want to wear your t-shirt, your face on my shirt?
Wait, when did I call you on?
That's how you poke at him right there, Ray.
About the time of the show or something a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago.
wait, that was a month ago.
Huh.
You've been very professional since that conversation.
Oh,
we had.
11:30 on the screws. We're starting
100%. Look how I needed to do it. I got a good time. Look, everybody knows when to expect this now. Don't be sensitive. Don't be sensitive. Be professional. That's the new thing.
There you go. All right. So we have a lot to get to with you over the course of the next
Really?
27 minutes
Okay.
or whatever time at which you decide to close the window. So it's UFC 314 fight week. So I'd like to spend a lot of time there. But off the top, we know you watch every single UFC fight. So what did you make of Lerone Murphy over Josh Emmett and anything else from the weekend?
Yeah, great fight for not the most exciting fight, but Murphy's very technical, great footwork. I think the footwork won him the fight. But look, unfortunately, like I walked into the gym, I don't think anybody cared about the fight. That's the problem. It wasn't an exciting fight, and the UFC I think, has been towards entertainment more than like substance in the past couple of years. So I'm sure he got tortured over that, but it was a beautiful performance. But look, first off, hats off to Josh Emmett. The guy's 40 years old, and that fight was, his fight was another close fight, but you had to give it to Murphy, I think. But for being 40 years old, I'll give him the fight. I think he should have been able to, like, I think Topuria really lumped him up good. Rodriguez got him out of there, so, and that was a couple of years ago. So I think Murphy kind of needed to finish that fight to make a statement that I think he needs to make. But unfortunately, I think a great fight, great win. I don't know if it's, what it's going to do for him.
Yeah, Ray, I would say like not every fight's going to be a perfect performance or an exciting fight,
Yeah.
but what do you think the ceiling is on Murphy? Is he championship material in your opinion?
Look, I'll tell you one thing, he's definitely going to be a hard out. Is he championship material? He's got the qualities. It might, I think, I think he's got to go for it a little more, to be honest with you, because he's going to, I think they're going to probably bust his balls up until that point. But yeah, I think he's got the attributes of a champion, and I think he's just got to go for it more. He's definitely skilled, beautiful footwork, nice combinations, does everything right. Takedown defense looks like it's solid, but I'm not feeling that X factor, to really go. I want to see the guy fight for a title,
Yeah, and John, I'd like to shift gears over to 314, UFC 314 this weekend. Another great featherweight fight, Yair Rodriguez, who's not always so consistent, but when he's on his game, man, it looks like he could beat anyone in the world in that weight class. He's taken on Patricio Pitbull. I'm not sure how much you've seen of Patricio, but what do you make of that fight?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Yair in that fight. I think he's fought the better competition. I think that's going to be the difference in the fight. Yeah, Patrici's good though, man. He's been around forever. He's got solid experience too, but I think Yair's been in there with just about everybody to give him the right looks to be able to deal with that. How old is Pitbull now? He's got to be getting up there too, right?
My notes right here, Ray, if you just want to wait a hot second.
I heard he's 30 again, huh?
Why is it not there? I think it's like 36, as you were saying, though. We're a little bit disorganized here, a little bit discombobulated on a Monday. Jean Lord Silva is 28. God, my notes are everywhere. I think he's in his mid-30s.
37.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Code Blue.
Yeah, I think that's a rough time to be entering the UFC, but he does have the experience. We'll see what happens. I'm going to go with Yair Rodriguez in that fight, though.
All right, so one thing that I just wanted to circle back to, it doesn't necessarily have to do with Lerone Murphy in particular. Yeah. It is a thankless job, though, professional mixed martial arts fighter, right? I think about Mario Bautista right now out of the MMA lab. Beats Jose Aldo, right? And I believe he's going to fight Marlon Cheeto Vera, but I think the fight keeps getting pushed back. This guy's won like 7 fights in a row at 135 pounds, neutralizes Jose Aldo, and then just gets roundly criticized. Like, when's that guy going to fight for a world title? I don't know. I just feel like the sport is difficult, and I bring it up in the context of Lerone Murphy, and maybe it was just Sacramento being heard from, but like, why are we booing Lerone Murphy at that decision? Good on him for firing right back. That's like almost as loud as I've heard the apex to the negative after a fighter wins. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's because, Emmett was just stalking him the whole fight. He never really pushed Emmett back and got him on his back heels. But listen, the sport is, like you said, this is a thankless sport. We can't, listen, Pumi can't even get you can't even get a shot into the UFC. And he could be the best bantamweight prospect out there. So we're in a totally different direction. And Mick will tell you, he thinks he's boring. So if these guys think something, they're controlling the purse strings. I mean, then you got to deal with that shit, man. You can't even be an undefeated fighter with a couple of local belts. Nobody gives a shit, so.
You are right that entertainment factors in seemingly now more than ever. But if Lerone Murphy was your fighter, and I'm not suggestive that he pitched a shutout, but my goodness, man, you fight the most consequentially powerful guy in the division, right? And you fight a really clean fight. You mix up your weapons beautifully. And, Ray Longo comes on here and says, yeah, you go to the gym and nobody gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know that you are as fighter first as anyone.
Oh, no, without a doubt.
I open this program in a way that almost sounds like defensive of Lerone Murphy, because it's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like, you got now you beat number 8 in the world. Not good enough. You got to knock out number 8 in the world. Lerone.
Yeah,
sorry.
Well, that's kind of what that's what
I know.
Want, though. I don't know. Well, listen, if you're asking me, Lerone Murphy fought a beautiful fight, but John, it's the same thing. Like when they hold those fighter meetings, the coaches can't go. Why is that? Because they want to riv these guys up, and like a coach will go, dude, just fight your fight. Don't worry about anything. They want to win. Stay within yourself. And these guys try to get you to go crazy, you know, if you're 75 grand, 300 grand for a not whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's what they want. You know, it has nothing to do with winning or losing.
Yeah, and the way Murphy was going to lose this fight was by making it exciting.
Yeah, they'll
I mean, that's how he was going to lose it.
Yeah, right. 100%. No, Kenny, true. They'll take Leon Garcia against the Korean Zombie like a slobber knocker. That to some people that's a fight. That's a barroom brawl. I mean, we all want to see that. But, you know, if you're a coach, you don't want your fighter engaging in that type of stuff.
Yeah,
you want him to be technical and, you know, sound everywhere. Be, you know, like a good fight IQ. Think, you know, but good luck, man. Good fucking luck.
Yeah. So did you happen to see the fight involving Therese Finney and Robert Valentine?
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
for the parts I could stay awake
the segue
for.
did itself.
For the parts I could stay awake for. Yeah, Finney's like they're gonna.
So I did not see that Saturday night. I had to seek that out to see just how insulting it was.
Well, you know, it's funny. Pumi texted me during the fight. Come on, are you kidding? And I go, dude, that's you. They think that's you at 185. What are you talking about? That's what they see when they look at you. They see Finney taking the guy down, which isn't true. But
Kenny,
I don't know.
What do you have for us on this fight? I mean, Finney won it 29-28 times 2. And then I don't know if it was Tony Weeks who had the 30-27 going the other way. A lot to unpack here, though.
Well, yeah,
what
Kenny,
is
wait a minute.
Going on?
Kenny, when
What
you
happened?
when you get a boxing judge in an MMA fight and there's not one punch landed, who do you think the guy's going to vote for?
Just player hating on the grappler, man. But listen, you know, if you're scoring, I think there was some ridiculous stat. I wish I could remember. I wanted to write it down. Of course, I did not. But it was like, I mean, was it Finney threw like very little strikes each round? So maybe that's what Weeks was coming from. Was like, hey, the other kids landed a bunch of shots. He was elbowing from the bottom position. And Finney was doing a great job of controlling, but was he winning a fight? I don't know. He was certainly winning the grappling match, right? But was it 30-27 realistically? No, it shouldn't have gone that way. But yeah, I mean, certain guys that you pick and you think this is going to be the guy who's going to be using a heavy grounded pound with his wrestling game, and just really wasn't doing that at all. So I think he'll adjust. I think he'll, you know, really have to add in a lot of different elements to ground and pound. If that's what he's going to do, if you're going to take guys down, then you got to be able to beat people up from there and at least be some kind of a submission threat. So yeah, really wasn't that, but I mean, that's a very powerful dude. No question about that.
And did that 30-27, did that get a shitload of criticism like a bad judge normally gets? I don't think so. Because I think if Weeks walks out of there and does like what Kenny said, well, he elbowed him off the bottom, he didn't do this, he just took him down, he stalled. I bet you the higher ups agree with that guy. They don't want to see that. I mean, they don't want to see it. It doesn't matter about winning. They don't want to see it. Period.
Valid point.
You know,
I agree with you. Sadly, I agree. Kenny, your camera looks fantastic. Did you purchase that from Brian Petrie? That's the word on the street. Anyway,
I did.
So, Ray, we have some UFC 314 stuff, and thanks to everybody joining us live today. It's the Ray Longo Minute. Every Monday for the last 10 years, Ray, our 10-year anniversary is Wednesday.
Wow.
We launched this show April 9th, 2015, and as our listenership knows, you were a part of this from day one. The Ray Longo Minute exists to episode 1. We're 10 years in. I have a lot of UFC 314 stuff I would like to get to with you.
Okay, let me just shout out one. I think Sabatini's fight, if you're going to take a guy down, that's the way to do it. I think that guy took down a really talented guy. I thought Sabatini, just want to give him a shout out. That camp's killing it. Wish him all the best of luck.
Oh, just because he's Italian, Ray. I get it. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
Sabatini. But you know what I'm saying? I thought that was a great fight for Sabatini. He's a grinder. And again, hats off to him. I don't want to let that go because I thought that was I
that's good.
Fight.
Yeah. No, Sabatini, I agree. Offensively, really fun to watch. And I know you Northeast guys like to stick together. See, that's not
100%.
necessarily part of the Northeast mentality in totality. It suggests to me that you're not really a pro sports fan the way you root for Philadelphia, right? Because, like I'm happy for you and Weidman, right? But I'm never sad when New Yorkers lose, whether it's Yankees, Mets, or Longo Weidman.
Well, I think New York-Boston rivalry is at the pinnacle of rivalries.
Yes.
You know
right.
what I mean? So
That's part of the reason we wanted you on the show, to balance out our Boston with a little New York.
Billy Buckner. Sorry about that.
I remember I was in New York and I posted something on, it was Twitter at the time, and I was like, hey, great to be back in, the Big Apple or something like that. And Anik texted me. He's like, hey, dude, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, Kenny shows up in like an NYC t-shirt at the ESPN studio. I'm like, what? You got New York on your shirt? He's like, just the city.
You would think he would at least honor his father from Seaford a little bit, but no.
Oh, so
yeah.
good.
When you said on these airwaves that because my dad's from Long Island, Seaford, New York, that I got New York blood, it kind of threw me sideways. And then people were like, you look like you're from New York. I'm like, all right. This is my Red Sox teacher, by the way. Swept the doubleheader from the St. Louis Cardinals yesterday, stacked 18 runs in the nightcap. Raymond, what? So, but no, in all seriousness, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants in the NFL, no love lost there. I'm sort of having fun with you, but for me, it's like, it's hard for me to root for New York athletes in MMA or otherwise. I'm just saying. So like when your guys lose, I mean, it's bad for the Minutemen, and for Boston sports fans, it's not so bad when Team Longo goes down. You got anybody fighting this weekend we can root against, Ray?
No, thank God.
Okay. All right. So can I get to UFC 314?
Yeah, let's do it, baby. I'm so excited. Yeah, let's go.
Are you not excited? That is fucking
No,
insulting.
I am. Well, I think that was the problem with walking into the gym. That's why I left that out. Everybody's like, I think the card wasn't as good as, I don't know what it was supposed to be, I guess, but this 314, everybody's looking forward to. So I think that's the good news. When they stack a card the right way, they stack a card the right way.
All right. Time permitting, I have a question on Jim Miller, who is a plus 500 underdog against Chase Hooper this weekend. Chase Hooper is minus 700. All right. Alexander Volkanovski, Raymond. Diego Lopes. Ilia Topuria is the champion. The belt will be vacant as soon as second one expires off the clock. Who do you think is the betting favorite in the title fight this weekend?
I would think Volkanovski's the betting favorite.
Volkanovski minus 148. Diego Lopes is plus 124. To save your dog Lucky's life, who wins the featherweight championship this weekend?
Man, I tell you, first off, I love both guys. They're really both really nice people.
Yeah.
I think Volk does have the edge in this if he has no collateral damage from his last couple of fights. I mean, I'll put it this way, which I always do this. If this fight was 4 years ago, what are the odds on that fight?
Right.
They're huge. I just say he's not winning the fight.
I just don't like the question. I just don't like your question.
I don't like your would you rather questions, but I deal with them.
So,
and I tell you, I don't like how bright your fucking teeth are. You guys are painting your teeth at this point. What are you doing?
It's a television. It's a television camera, and I've tried to optimize the light in here. And all right, but you
Kenny
sort of fence sat when it comes to the fight, and Kenny has to fence it because he's going to give his prediction coming up here in 25 minutes. But yes, the question beckons on Alexander Volkanovski, right? How close is he to prime form? I think he's 36 years old. He hasn't fought since February of 2024. There's a huge segment of the fan base who believes unequivocally that he's going to be back and better than ever and in his prime. And then there's another huge segment of people that think he's in the twilight of his career. And, this is the last guy he should be fighting. So where do you fall on all of that?
No, I think this is a good fight for him. I think Topuria's got unusual power. I think Islam, he had to move up to 55. He was the smaller guy there. I don't think Diego, I don't know, man. I like Diego, but I'm not sure he's got the firepower to stop Volkanovski. I think that's where I'm at. Like, I think Volkanovski can dictate the pace of this fight.
All right. So Kenny asked you earlier, is Lerone Murphy championship material, right? I believe Diego Lopes is championship material. He's only getting better. His boxing looks outstanding.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think Diego Lopes, forgetting who's walking out of the red corner, do you think Diego Lopes is championship material?
I'm going to give you a real shitty answer. I think there's a lot of guys on any night are championship material. Can he be a consistent champion, like a dominant champ? I don't know. I'm pulling for him. I like he's a nice kid. I don't know.
That's a
I'm
good
not,
answer.
but I'm not feeling that like that. You know what I mean? Like if you were to talk about like Volkanovski when he was coming up, he's just crushing everybody, and Israel Adesanya or even like White, they were different type of people. I'm not getting that feel, but that doesn't mean anything. But this is a sport where it's not, like anybody on any given night in the top 5 could be a champion.
Right.
They could win that fight. You don't know if the champ comes in, he's not feeling good, he's dealing with an injury. There's a million things in this sport that could happen, but normally cream rises to the top, and these guys, the guys that are supposed to be champs, figure out a way to win. And I think Volkanovski was that guy. Is he still that guy is the question. So
good answer.
I think it's a great fight for both guys. I think it's like a fair fight. I think it's a great fight for Diego to see exactly where he is, and I think it's a great fight for Volkanovski to see if he's still there. Does he still have it?
Yeah. Before I let Kemflo get in here, Ray, yes or no answer. Movsar Evloev, whom you have cornered against, who beat Diego Lopes in his UFC debut, is that a guy who you believe more fits the mold of a long reigning dominant champion for you?
Well, he's got the one aspect that could be dominating. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kenflo, without revealing your prediction for this weekend, do you believe Diego Lopes has championship potential and material is a different question. So do you believe Diego Lopes is championship material?
Champions don't have to be perfect fighters, but you don't want to see glaring vulnerabilities. And I think that we've seen that because of the Evloev fight. We've seen that in Lopes, where you can kind of take him down, you can control him, you can outpoint him in that regard. Lopes, kept the fight very, very close. But, as of right now, I would say, can he be? Yeah, absolutely. He can get better with his wrestling. He can get better with his ground game, his ability to get right back to his feet. I think those things can be improved, no question. And that might be the case for this fight here against Volkanovski. But based on what I've seen, not quite yet.
All right, time now for Longo's Locks, presented by the Chicken Pound, who will never send John Anik free chicken as long as our business.
That guy will send you a box of chicken tomorrow.
Volkanovski or Lopes, for the record, Longo's Locks. You fence that.
Wow. If I had a pick, I would pick Volkanovski.
Is it because they both acknowledge your legend and they've both been so gracious with you that you don't want to pick? Is that the issue?
I like both guys. I don't like picking fights.
No, I understand.
I like, the best man winner. Diego is always smiling when I see him. He's a great guy. Volkanovski, I love Joe Lopez, love his coach. Volk's always been a nice guy. I'm not that close with him, but we always bust balls and have a good time. So it's not worth it for me to, say that I think this guy should win.
Right. I understand. All right, I'll try my different phraseology then on the co-main event. Yeah. Cody, you can wipe that graphic for me. Paddy Pimblett -162, Michael Chandler +136. Do you believe Paddy Pimblett, Ray, deserves the distinction as the betting favorite this weekend?
No.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe you like Michael Chandler. So there have been certain guys that I've sort of planted my flag on, right, over the years, guys who I think are going to ascend, right, and have the chops to be a world champion or fight for the title, whether it's Ian Machado Gary or even, I think, Raul Rosas Jr. But Paddy Pimblett's a guy who I have maybe been of a different mindset on than the masses. So it sounds to me like that maybe he needs to prove something to you this weekend, Ray.
Yes, I would say that's correct.
Okay.
And again, I think, go ahead. So I'm sorry.
No, please.
To what extent? What? No.
Well, no, I was going to move on because you just gave me a quick little answer.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know if I'm gonna fuck this up, but I think Luke Thomas was talking about like the 150, the lightweight division. And he's saying the guys that are coming up, and I hope I'm not, I see shit quick on these reels that come up, but
Right, you're on
it's going to
social
be
media all
hard
the
to
time.
hold the torch to like the Poiriers and the Oliveras. I mean, these guys have been around forever, grinding it out. Justin Gaethje, Chandler. I mean, and that's why, do I see Pimblett as that guy? Definitely not. I just don't.
Yeah.
So we'll
All
see
right.
what happens.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess you and I are maybe on different sides of it. We'll see how he fares against Michael Chandler. All right, so last one for me before we get to some would you rathers with Ray Longo on the way out. So Jean Lord Silva has won 12 successive fights. He's perfect in the UFC, 4 wins, 4 knockouts, fighting Bryce Mitchell, who is just down there in Arkansas, smarting at the rest of the world and trying to take it out on Jean Silva on a canvas in Miami, Florida, USA. To what extent are you as excited as the masses seem to be about Jean Silva?
Oh, I'm excited about John Silva. I think he's really, really good, I tell you. And if Bryce Mitchell gets hit, he will be fishing with Hitler in his head.
Oh,
But, I don't know. I'll tell you, that kid can crack, and I
yes,
don't know.
he can. Yeah.
So
All right.
I know you're excited about that fight,
He'll
John.
be fishing for
I
Hitler.
am absolutely excited for all of it. The press conference. I'm excited for the fighter meetings. I'm excited that I can drive to the venue. Very excited. All right. Would you rather with Ray Longo on the way out? Again, we are just trying to bring the listeners and the viewers what they want, and they want would you rather. Would you rather, Ray, hunt and butcher your own meat or never eat meat again?
I'd rather hunt and butcher my own meat.
Let's go, Ray. Would you rather live in a treehouse or a cave, Ray?
I like a treehouse.
Ken Flo, would you rather live in a treehouse or a cave?
I feel like Swiss Family Robinson. Let's go, Kenny. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
I feel like
Probably
a
a
kid
treehouse.
again.
I could probably dress up a treehouse a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, put some stuff in there to make it nice and homey. Cave,
How-
it's kind of a
How cool is that, Kenny? Tarzan. Think Tarzan and Jane.
exactly.
Swinging from the vines, from treehouse to treehouse,
Always loved a
banging
good
your
treehouse.
chest, talking to the chimpanzees. Come on.
Has anybody fucking seen Kenny Florian's backyard?
No, but has anybody seen Kenny Florian's shirt? Can you stand up again, Ken Flo? I'm very
Look at
proud.
this.
Look at that.
Look
Come
at
on, Dad. Look. Oh, my God.
1, 2,
It's unbelievable,
3, 4.
John. John, I got to
Kenny.
get you one of those today. What are you, small?
We'll give medium's fine.
Medium?
Kenny.
Okay, I get you me. I got
Yes.
mediums.
Kenny, please tell the listeners about the swing in your backyard, what it hangs from, and how many feet in the air, please.
It's a massive swing. We got multiple attachments for the kids and for the kids in the neighborhood. They almost killed themselves probably 2 days ago on it. They were trying to go vertical with it, but the damn thing goes very, very high. It's like strung up to a massive tree, and Dominic Cruz was having a ball just kind of riding it. He was,
Yeah. I mean, you may want to just microdose some mushrooms and go out on that swing. Anyway, so
Hey, you ain't getting that in Manhattan. That's for damn sure.
treehouse over cave. Yeah, I couldn't deal with the blackout. Ray, would you rather have a mullet for a year or be bald for 2 years?
Oh, definitely a mullet. I'll take a mullet for 3 years over being bald.
Ray, would you rather give up brushing your teeth or give up brushing your hair?
I'd rather give up brushing my hair since I don't brush it anyway.
It's like, what was the last time I did either?
Yeah,
right?
when the hell you think I brushed my hair? When I was younger, I would just wake up, just let it go, man. It was all over the place.
And you brush your teeth twice a day. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh,
Morning
yeah.
and night, right? You ever mix in
oh,
a third or no?
No, never.
Okay. All right. I have one joke question in here. We got John Morgan coming up in about 60 seconds. Would you rather
John
have
Morgan.
I can't even get through some of these. Would you rather have a rap battle against Nicki Minaj? I can't even do it. Would you rather have a rap battle against Nicki Minaj or Lizzo? Right.
I don't even know who the fuck is
I know.
Lizzo. Who is Lizzo?
I know. What's the last song you listened to, Ray?
I don't. If whatever it was from the 70s or 80s.
So when you get in the car to drive to the gym, do you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to the Joe Rogan Experience? What do we listen to?
I mean, I'm normally on the phone talking to people.
Oh, I understand. That's how
But I'm a big Zeppelin fan. When I'm working out, Zeppelin's the only thing that goes on.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Would you rather spend the weekend with pirates or ninjas?
Ooh. We got it. Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I'm gonna have to say ninjas because it's martial art related, so that'd
Figured.
be pretty
Easy.
cool.
Chalk answer.
Yeah. But the
Ray, would you
pirates
rather
ain't bad.
bathe in the dishwasher or wash dishes in your bathwater?
Wait, what was that one? Would I rather what?
Would you
What is-
rather listen the first time? No, would you rather? I'm just kidding. Would you
You know
rather
what?
bathe in the dishwasher or wash dishes in your bathwater?
I'll bathe in the dishwater or whatever that was.
All right.
Dishwasher, dishwater.
Hey, we love you, and we are going to save the Matt Serra felony disfigurement charge conversation for next week. Do you know about
Matt
that?
Serra, what?
Do you know the reason why Matt Serra was kept out of the Marine Corps? Do you know the answer
Oh
to
yeah,
that
of course
question?
I did. I've told the story 100 times.
Not on these airwaves, but we're going
I
to say
didn't
that
know the
next week.
story.
Yeah,
You
he
didn't
bit
know
a
that?
guy's ear off and was charged with felony disfigurement, and his Marine Corps recruiting officer
Ooh.
told him that charge would keep him out of the Marine Corps.
You know, it's funny because I always told them at that time, when I was younger and somebody did that, you had two choices. You're going to jail or you're going in the service. Now they don't even take you. You want that guy in the service. That's the guy-
100%.
That's the guy you want.
Yeah.
Now they
And it
kept him
seemed
out.
like this guy maybe was kind of a dick. He was like maybe
Oh,
the
douchebag.
friend of an older brother's,
Yeah,
whatever it
total
was.
douchebag, steroided out of his mind.
Yeah. So
You know, and the
yeah.
first thing how you start suing everybody.
Yeah.
That's nice. Wait, wait. For everybody, go listen to my Teddy Atlas interview, which is a phenomenal interview. I loved it. But I tell that story on there.
on the ESPN MMA YouTube channel, is that where that is?
Yeah.
All right, yes, definitely. Longo and Atlas, ESPN MMA YouTube channel. Ray, love you, buddy. Hope you enjoyed it today. Thanks for a good 10 years, my man. We'll talk to you next Monday, okay?
Happy anniversary. Oh my God, that shirt gets me so ramped up. I gotta go. I'll talk to you. Kenny, take it
Yeah,
easy,
Ray.
John. Thank you. Happy
You're
anniversary.
the best, Raymond. I love
And
you.
it's been
All
a
in good
pleasure for
fun.
10 years. Never had a bad
Likewise.
time in 10 years.
I love you.
Not 1 second of a bad
love
time.
you.
Even with the would you rather. It's all good.
My man. Good.
My
love
man.
There he
Take it
is.
easy, guys.
Ray Longo Minute every week, going a decade strong here on the Anik Florian Podcast. All right, UFC 314. As you know, headed to South Beach this weekend. Don't miss out on any of the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner. UFC promises to be another banging night of fights. Officially moving night in the featherweight division. A lot of high-profile matchups, and of course, the undisputed titles on the line in the main event between two fighters who appear to be evenly matched. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes. And if you are new to DraftKings, good news this. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So step into the octagon with DraftKings Sportsbook. Not now, but right now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario, new customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right. What a privilege to be joined today live, and we're sorry to keep him waiting for about 180 seconds there. An absolute legend of the mixed martial arts game. Knew he'd be on a professional microphone today. The newly anointed CFFC general manager, Fury Grappling as well, host of the MMA Roadshow and Cage Side with John Morgan, the absolute legend of the space. John Morgan, great to see your shining face, buddy. How we doing?
I'm doing well, man. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to be here. The honor is all mine, and congratulations on a decade of the show, man. Literally, hey, listen, no lie here, weekly listener from day one till now, 10 years. One of the best shows in the game, no question about it. Hands down, you guys crush it.
So the MMA Roadshow, I feel like we launched almost around the same time, maybe within weeks of each other. Am I wrong?
You know, you're 100% right. We launched April 2nd, 2015.
Wow.
So literally just 1 week earlier. And yeah, I mean, we were so excited to be the new entry into the space. And then a week later, here come John Anik and Kenny Florian just stealing the shine from the MMA Roadshow. But no, it's yeah, we've been doing it for a decade as well. Obviously on a different trajectory. Me and my boy Cold Coffee, Ken Hathaway, just sitting over a couple frosty beverages, talking about our travel and life experiences and fun, where you guys have really taken it to just such an incredible level with what you guys do. But yeah, we've been doing it a decade as well.
So when I get a guest like yourself, I don't even know which direction to go, right? We could do a career retrospective. I kind of want to hammer you on UFC 314, but your life has sort of taken on a little bit of a different tone than maybe you expected. And I think for a lot of us who are sports fans or grow up sports fans, we would love to be like the general manager of a fight promotion or a team. So what led to that, and how excited are you about what lies ahead for CFFC?
Man, I am incredibly excited about it, and I appreciate you bringing it up. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Years and years ago, while I was doing my MMA Junkie run, I started commentating some fights for Tough Enough here in Las Vegas, started working with Titan FC out there in Florida, and really found a passion for it. You know, never saw myself as like, well, I'll do the UFC level, because I was doing reporting on the UFC, but I was like, man, I love calling fights. Well, you know, we got to be a corporation with Gannett, and there were some conflicts. They said, you got to stop doing it, and I stopped. And I missed it. I missed it so tremendously. I was like, you know, I understand, you know, this is my career path, but gosh, I love calling fights. I love telling stories in that way as well. And a few years went by, and I kind of went and reviewed it with the guys. And I said, listen, I understand you made me stop doing this at one point, but I'd love to do it again. And we kind of got it cleared through some ethics committees and all those things. And right about that time, I mean, like 2-3 weeks after I was like, man, I want to try to do this again, Dave Schaller reached out to me. And he was working with CFSC in New Jersey. And he's like, listen, man, he's like, I know you used to call fights. Would you like to call fights again? And I'm like, you're not going to believe this, bro. I just got clearance for this, man. This timing is amazing. He's like, I want you to work with CM Punk. And I'm like, I have absolutely nothing in common with CM Punk. I'm like, you know, I know nothing about professional wrestling. The man doesn't touch the frosty beverages. Like, what are we going to connect with? But I was like, I'd love to go call some fights. And man, instantly we connected, and man, just got to meet the crew around CFFC, and I was like, man, I want to do this again, man. I really want to do this, and I want to get more involved with it. And eventually got to a point where I was like, you know what? I want to walk away from MMA Junkie, man. I want to chase this passion of not only calling fights, but just being more involved with a different aspect of the industry, right? Like, I love the combat sports and mixed martial arts space. You guys know, you see me for a long time. But, you know, we did the MMA Junkie thing, and it was incredible. I mean, myself and Dan Stupp, he started it, and I was the first employee. And it was a great journey, but I was like, you know what? I want to take this a different path. And, you know, it took a couple years. I didn't know there was going to be a general manager job waiting for me, but basically I was just, every time the crew behind the scenes was like, you know what, man, we need somebody that can do this. I'm like, let me do that. You know, we need somebody that can do this. I'll do that. Well, what, you know, could anybody do this? Give me that responsibility too. And eventually just kept taking on things where they say, listen, man, we want to bring you on full time, and we'd love to have you be part of the executive team here. Wow. And I said, let's go.
That's no surprise, man. You were one of the hardest working guys in the MMA space, always traveling everywhere. Just crazy schedule, I'm sure. But how does that affect you personally now? Are you not traveling as much now? Is this I mean, you have a lot of jobs, but is this an easier schedule in that regard, or does it require still a heck of a lot of travel?
It actually is an easier schedule, man. And obviously you guys know very well, you know, fight weeks, as a reporter, you know, you're getting in there for media day and press conference and weigh-ins and all that. And now I'll still travel to some UFC events. And obviously when I'm traveling with CFSC, just our fight weeks are a lot shorter. We're getting in there. So there's still travel, but it is less. I mean, there was a time, Kenny, I know you and I were on a lot of airplanes together. Some disasters happened along the way while we were there. Got chastised by Bruce Buffer in the Sao Paulo airport lounge. I mean, we got some stories. But, yeah, man, there was a time where I was gone, you know, 30, 35 weeks a year, whatever. And now, if you can believe this, I mean, all our lives are changing. I got a son that in May is going to turn 13. And, you know, I'm sure we've all been there, right? I'll never forget like his third birthday. I'm like, he's not going to remember this. But I remember waking up and being in the Philippines, and it was his birthday, and I'm not there. And I'm just like, what the hell am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be fight weeks. Like, there's going to be another one. Like, have the guts to just ask off and miss some every now and then. Like, the world's not going to pass you by. So to answer your question, yeah, it's still travel, but it's less travel. And, you know, not gone nearly as much. You'll be home a lot more.
That's awesome, man. So on Saturday night, we had another Apex show. You know, back when I was around, we were talking, you know, we didn't have that. What's your take on the Apex shows? And do you think we're going to see more of those? Because in my opinion, I'm sure there's a lot of cities out there that would love to host more UFC Fight Nights. So what's your take on that?
So I have a very unique perspective in that the Apex is like 12 minutes from my house. So I'm probably more a fan of Apex shows than most because I could drive right down there and be home 15 minutes later. So I love them. I do like the Apex. I'm anxious to see, this construction that's going on right now and the way they reconfigure it, because what I've always said is the space is good. You don't need a huge space. I mean, how many great fight nights were there at the Pearl at the Palms? That thing seats 1,600 tops. You know what I mean?
Fighting there. Yeah.
It was a great place. I mean, all the fans are right on top of it. So, I want to see the way it's reconfigured and trying to get some more fans in the building and the kind of fans that are in there as well right now. Because right now it's either, half of the place is Zuffa guests and half of the place is like these VIP tickets, which is awesome. They got crab legs and prime rib and open bars getting carved off over here for these VIPs, but it's missing just the average fan, the common fan in there. So I'm anxious to see once this thing gets reconfigured and rebuilt. I'm anxious to see, because right now I get it. I understand the complaints. I understand the frustrations. I like the closeness to my house though, so I'm anxious to see what they do with this construction.
John Morgan, veteran MMA journalist and CFFC general manager, with us live on the Anik Florian podcast. He was on episode 1 with us 10 years ago this Wednesday. So is your son, Eli, still grappling, by the way, or no?
He is. He's actually training under Alex Davis here in Las Vegas. So he's
nice.
It's funny, man. He doesn't love it. He doesn't love it. And I'll be the first to admit that guitar is really his love. But
I don't love it either, Eli.
Yeah, exactly. But he goes, you know what I mean? And he goes and he doesn't complain about it, and he does it. And he is getting better. Now, obviously, he's about to be a teenager. He just hit a growth spurt, and he's starting to become more of a man than a boy. And I think he's enjoying it a little bit more. But he still trains. He's done it since he's a little kid. And I am a huge advocate that I think every child out there should be training in martial arts, especially grappling arts.
So I don't want to spend too much time on the whole Apex thing, right? But when I think about days past, and I moved to Florida in some part because I was going to Brazil 6 times a year. I think there was a deal in Brazil with Combate and Globo where we had 6 fight nights and 1 pay-per-view a year. So 7 shows per year in Brazil. And then I think about Zagreb, Croatia, and Bangor, Maine, Hidalgo, Texas, even Hollywood, Florida, right? Watching Steve Bossy get his head kicked into the fucking stands, right? Utica, New York, a place that I never want to go back to, right? But what is the relative upside, right, in checking those boxes and going to those markets now versus then? And what was gained by going there? I don't know the answer, right? Like, I don't mind being in Las Vegas, right? It's the greatest restaurant and sports betting city in the world. But, if I'm a UFC fan in Milwaukee or Indianapolis and I don't have the means by which to get to Vegas, you're sort of thinking, like, when am I going to be able to see one of these things? I might have to drive 9 or 10 hours.
Well, it's such a balance, right? I mean, obviously, you're 100% right. Like, I think that's the greatest thing about the UFC is when it travels around like that. There is no live show like the UFC. I mean, they do such a phenomenal job of bringing that energy. And I think once you're a fan, maybe you've watched a little bit on TV or whatever, you're like, let me go check it out. You go see a UFC live event and you walk away going, oh, this is my jam right here.
You're a fan for life.
Yeah, you're a fan, right? So there's a huge part of that. But let's be honest, man. Look, we've all been part of this traveling road show. How many bodies are we talking about? How many airplane tickets are we buying? How many hotel rooms? How many per diems? How many costs that are completely eliminated when they operate within the Apex? So when you think about it from a business perspective, like honestly, from a pure dollars and cents perspective, they probably should never go anywhere but the Apex. You don't have to travel anywhere. You got everybody right there. You've got the infrastructure. I mean, trust me, as a general manager of CFFC and learning this side of it, now I know a lot more about what a lighting rig costs. Now I know a lot more about it, what it takes to bring in sound system, about how many hotel rooms you're buying. And those are real dollars and cents to talk about it. And I know it's easy to say, well, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. What do they care? It's still a business. And there's not a lot of mixed martial arts promotions out there making profit, right? And you're in the business landscape. You're not in the charity landscape. So there's a real balance to be struck. All that said, I do like the fact that Dana White seems to be saying more often, we need to get out and travel this thing around a little bit. So I don't ever see the Apex going away. I mean, obviously they're investing in more infrastructure in it right now, but there is something to be said for getting out to these markets and allowing fans to just get in the door and experience that live event for the first time, because UFC does it like nobody else.
So if you had to bet on one CFFC fighter, and maybe you can't answer this, I guess, as the play-by-play guy, but if you had to bet on one fighter to realize success in the UFC, that is maybe under the age of like 23? Is there one name on the tip of your tongue? Are there several?
100%. Bilal Hassan, our reigning flyweight champion right now. He's undefeated. He's about 23. I think he might have just had his 24th birthday right in there. But this guy is the total package, right? Like he started out as a striker. He had a viral spinning back kick knockout, and everyone's like, oh, wow, incredible striking. But what happens when he grapples? Then he's, hitting like magic stick transitions to the back and choking people out. You're like, look at that, incredible. And then he's great on the mic. Like he'll come in, sunglasses on, some Michael Jackson in the background. So he's a young talent that I'm really, really excited about. And hopefully maybe see him on Contender Series this year. If not, I will say, too, don't rush, man. Get experience. Like we talked to the guys. You're not just trying to get to the UFC. You're trying to stay in the UFC.
Right.
Look at Pat Sabatini, former CFFC champ, man. He had a tough go. He almost made it into the UFC early, and then he had a weird kind of a freak injury in his arm that set his path and his journey back. But honestly, getting a little bit more experience, I don't think is a bad thing, because you saw that performance he had. Man, sure. It was incredible. And I think that's a big thing that young talent has to balance, right? Is that you want to get to the big stage as quickly as possible, obviously, because you want those eyeballs, you want those bigger paychecks. But don't forget, man, the goal is not to get there, it's to stay there.
Yeah. Bilal Hassan, 6-0, born in Honolulu, Hawaii. We'll keep an eye on him. All right, John Morgan on the way out, and you can follow this man, by the way, at @JohnMorgan_MMA on X, at John Morgan MMA on Instagram. I'm going to give you 4 fighters competing at UFC 314 this weekend, and you're going to tell me among these 4 men who you think is most likely to have their hand raised.
Okay.
Biggest favorite among them is actually Paddy Pimblett, followed by Alexander Volkanovski, followed by Diego Lopes, and then the biggest underdog of the 4 is Michael Chandler. So of the headlining athletes, the 4 faces on the poster to save a fucking gerbil's life, John Morgan. Gerbil dies if this fighter doesn't win this weekend. You like Paddy Pimblett, Volkanovski, Diego Lopes, or Michael Chandler? In whom are you most confident?
Man, that is so crazy, right? Because I really can make a case for both these fights going either way. Like, I'm so intrigued by these top 2 fights, but
or you could just say kill the gerbil.
Kill the gerbil, damn. Who do I care about the gerbil? I mean, it's not a dog. If you'd have said a puppy, now I'm stuck, but it's a damn gerbil. Kill that gerbil, John.
It's a fancy mouse is what it is. It's not a big deal. Yeah.
Exactly. But you know what? It's interesting. No, I really am intrigued by this. What's funny is the Jim Miller Chase Hooper line that I heard you guys mention earlier. That one jumped out to me that I was shocked to see that line the way it was. But these top 2 fights, I could really, really see going on either way. I guess if I had to put my money on one, if I had to put that gerbil's life on one, and I actually cared about that gerbil, I guess I'd say Volkanovski, simply because that championship pedigree, it's got to still be there. The accomplishments that he's had. Man, I guess I would go Volkanovski, but let me be honest with you and say that, is that my most confident? I'll say it's my most confident. Am I very confident at all? You know what I mean? Yeah. No, not at all. Those are both 50-50 fights.
All right, my man. Well, hopefully we didn't sick the Animal Protection Service people on you for your inhumane comments about gerbils, but you're the man. And heretofore, you'll be introduced as the GM, the general manager, John Morgan. Appreciate you, buddy. And will we see you in Miami or no?
I'm not going to do Miami. Too much going on right now. I'm going to miss the next 2 pay-per-views. Too much going on right now to make Miami. I wanted to be there. Montreal is actually the weekend of my son's 13th birthday, so I'm going to miss that. So Jersey will be the next one I'm at. But I will be in Florida next Saturday, April 19th, CFFC 141. Let me work that plug in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that your next live event?
That's the next one. And check this out, man. It'll be Dean Thomas on the mic with me. My man, CM Punk. I'm a little unfortunate, like, with the way this worked out, but he'll actually be headlining at Allegiant Stadium WrestleMania on April 19th. So I won't be able to be in the building to see him headline WrestleMania, but I'll be in Tampa and Dean Thomas will be on the mic.
So you're counter-programming CM Punk. Is that what you're telling me?
I prefer to say it's a multi-screen experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll definitely play. Hey, it's all TKO, right? We'll be plugging it. We'll be certainly seeing it. But I'm bummed. I'll tell you what, man. I was never a big pro wrestling guys. I know you guys got to move on, but the last time I got to see Punk when he was competing for AEW back then, he wrestled and won the title at T-Mobile Arena, and I got to be there with my family. And I'm not a big pro wrestling guy, but seeing him in there, he's become such a friend, man. I love that guy, and to see him in there competing, man, it was a thrill. So I'm so happy for him that he gets to be at Allegiant Stadium and get that massive spotlight at WrestleMania.
Yeah, he's a tremendous human being. One of my favorite people that I've met on this crazy UFC Road Show. John Morgan, host of the MMA Road Show, CFFC general manager, buddy. Great to see you. And I know we didn't go 10 years between appearances, but don't be a stranger. We'll see you soon, okay?
Hey, another 10 years of success to us all, right?
There you go. Thank you, buddy.
sir. See you, John.
All right, John Morgan
brother.
with us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. All right, UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes. Ken Flo, you know what time it is. It is the PM here in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. It is time for the first shot of the fight week presented by Cuervo. I have my Cuervo Tradicional Cristalino for the first shot of the week, Ken Flo. I don't know what you have planned the rest of the day. Hopefully not getting behind any of your myriad motor vehicles or shooting any pistols as you're often doing during the day. But let's take the first shot of the week here presented by Cuervo in honor of UFC 314, Volkanovski.
Got a couple hours to recover. I will, but it's good. Chilled. Still chilled. Oh, yeah.
Woo-wee! Woo-wee!
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's go 3 wide. Can we go 3 wide as we dive headfirst into UFC 314? We welcome in another one of our weekly staples, Big Gun Brian Petrie. Why are you wearing a hat with your amazing new haircut? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, boys. That's the pay-per-view hat right there. My bad, Johnny. I buzzed her up, bub. I took her off and forgot about that. Yeah, that's the pay-per-view hat. But yeah, we can see the buzz here, bub.
So I had hair almost that long yesterday, and I joked with my eldest daughter, Riley, that I was growing it out. And she's like, what? You've been bald my whole life. So your daughter had a negative response to your haircut.
She hates it. Yeah, she hates it. Doesn't like photos. Winnie, my oldest, likes it. My youngest hates it, which is okay. Speaking of you saying your daughter had hair, I had a great just would you rather to hit John Anik. John Anik's always would you rather than other people, and it has to do with hair. I think it's a phenomenal would you rather. Let me get this out of the way before we get to 314 because it's amazing. Would you rather snap your fingers and you have Ray Longo's hair exactly the way he has it for a year, or snap your fingers and you had Ken Flo's back for a year? Which one you taking, Bob?
Oh my goodness. Do I want Ken Flo's back pain for a year or have to deal with Longo's wayward lettuce everywhere I go? So Kenny has a high threshold for pain.
I'm sure.
So I'm going to have to take Longo's lettuce. However receding and sloppy it may be.
I would love to see
That was the
like
decision.
That's a great question,
That was the right
Brian.
one. That was a
Brian,
very good question.
Yeah.
You got, dude, Brian Petrie looks great, folks. Like, if I had my applause button in the studio, does your hair not look good? Like, you'd look like so much more of a beast. Like, I feel like the whole room got elevated by your haircut. No, you look fucking tough.
No, so I used to always shave it when I was younger man. I could pull up some old BP pictures where I was looking in my early 20s, looking just great with a buzz cut. The wife likes the hair flowy. I got a good head of hair, so she likes it flowy. And it's about to get hot. And I said, hey, we're going on vacation like 2 months. I said, my hair grows fast. I said, let's just reset it. Just buzz it off. It'll kind of be like mid-flow.
Yeah.
Come vacation time, you'll be happy. And it'll take a little convincing. And then, my youngest hates it. She still doesn't want to take photos with Dad. But other than that, I'm digging it for sure.
All right. Well, we got a couple of pronunciations of the week for Ken Flo this week. And one of them, her nickname is Kakara. And we have done this name a lot on this program. I love to hear her say the name. Kenny, if you look at your screen, you see her name, right? Mm-hmm. She is as close to a world title shot as she has ever been. She fights Yan Xiaonan this weekend at UFC 314. Ken Flo, of whom am I speaking?
Virna Janjidoba.
Oh, you sound even better than she does. Circle gets the square, but let's hear Vina for the record. That's Cody found what a kakara is.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what it was.
Virna Karkara Jandiroba.
Oh, hit us with it, Vina. Sexy.
Virna Karkara Jandiroba.
I'd like to hear that again, please. I'd like to hear her again. Virna Karkara.
Virna Karkara Jandiroba.
Oh.
Virna Karkara Jandiroba.
So it looks like it's Jandiroba, and there's no D nor R sound where those consonants exist. Jandiroba. Okay, Ken Flo, we got another fighter for you. He fights Dominic Reyes. His first name is Nikita. His surname is oft mispronounced. Do you know how to pronounce this light heavyweight contender's surname? Nikita what?
Krylov?
Well, now you're just showing off. I mean, I'm going to give the
showing
segment
off.
back to Petrie. Jesus.
He's
Cody,
showing
go
off.
ahead.
Krylov.
Krylov.
Nikita Krylov.
If I hear another Krylov, good job, Ken Flo. Jesus, man. All right, we'll give the segment back to Petrie. My God. All right,
need it.
9 fights to break down for you today. Speaks to the depth of the card coming up at Kaseya Center this Saturday night, April 12th, UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes. We start in the prelim portion. Moving night in the featherweight division begins with Julian Juicy J. Erosa -360, Darren Elkins +285. Bri Erosa 8-7 now in the UFC after a guillotine submission against Christian Rodriguez last July. Second straight win by guillotine for Juicy J. Now he draws the hardened veteran Darren Elkins. BP, go ahead.
The damage, Darren Elkins. Listen, we got a lot to talk about. We're gonna keep it sweet. I love Julian Erosa on this spot. I don't know why. Typically, you bet Darren Elkins as a dog. You want Darren Elkins. The guy will fight for your money. He will bleed for your dollar. And Julian Erosa, a little erratic in UFC. I think the guy's very talented, but -360, that's a big number on this guy. What am I doing? But something tells me Erosa is going to do a little bit of club and sub, a little bit of something. He's got a great Dars, great anaconda, great guillotine. Darren Elkins likes to scramble. He has some good submission defense, but I think if he gets wrapped up with this long-arm dude in Erosa who's good at crack him, who's explosive on the feet, I think he might go out. I'm playing Erosa. I'm going to cut that number. The prop's not out yet, but give me Erosa by sub. I think he's going to get the damage out of there, man.
The damage. Darren Elkins. Ken Flo is a man. He is 40. Kenny, 30th UFC appearance for Darren Elkins.
Jeez.
How about 19-10? That's pretty good, you know. Winning
Yeah.
percentage near 67%. He's won 2 in a row, 3 of 4. Last win for Darren Elkins, unanimous decision against Daniel Pineda, October 19th of last year. Last man to finish Darren Elkins, Cub Swanson, back in 2021. Erosa has 25 MMA finishes. Something's got to give. Who do you like, Ken Flo?
This is going to be a fun fight while it lasts. I think, if someone can get the other one out of there, it's probably Erosa, but don't let Darren Elkins stick around for too long. The damage. I call him the damage. This guy is
Nice.
An absolute beast. But I think Erosa, I think his striking is going to be a little bit sharper. I think his submission game is probably going to be better, but Elkins does a good job of getting you down, controlling you, can land some big ground and pound. But I think Erosa realizes he needs this win. These are the kind of wins that he needs to stick around in the UFC and get some more success. So I'm leaning the way of Erosa, but like BP, I think it's a kind of a big number there.
All right, next up, men's lightweight division. Chase Hooper -700, Jim Miller +500. Hooper's won 4 in a row. Don't look now. He has vaulted to 7-3 in the UFC, Bri. Last 3 wins, all submissions. Clay Guida, Vyacheslav Barshov, and Jordan Levitt. UFC start number 46 for Jim Miller. Petrie, who do you love?
This is unbelievable. I mean, this Chase Hooper guy, right? I mean, we were talking maybe 2 years ago about, is he ready to be in the UFC? The story's great, but he got knocked around by Steve Garcia bad. We all were worried about him. This guy just puts his head down and goes, I'm going to grind. I'm going to grind. I'm going to get better. I'm going to find out what my striking is with my body type, my range or whatever. He knocked around Slava Klaus in that fight. He's obviously great on the ground. His scrambles are good. He's improved his wrestling. I've seen him on the ground with people, and I really don't see a lot of people be able to pin him down and hold him down. He's very scrambly. He's very good. He's obviously submissions, high IQ, but you're running across Jim Miller, who's been in this sport, I think, double the time Chase Hooper's been alive, right? I mean, with Chase Hooper, baby, when Jim Miller was fighting UFC, Jim Miller's really good jiu-jitsu. Off his back, he can get a little stagnant, but this is a guy who submitted Charles Oliveira. This is a guy who's got a lot of submissions and has fought the who's who. Yes, he's in his 40s. Yes, he's all this. But guess what? Vegas, I think, fucked up here. +500, +525 currently on Jim Miller. I call this vacation pay, baby, because it's paying for my vacation. Hey, yo, give me Jimmy Miller, bro. That was sweet right there. That's like David Caruso from CSI type shit right there. Code, if you want to play the CSI theme, I won't be mad. Give me Jim Miller.
Wow. Miller to get his 28th UFC win. He has won 3 of 4. Submitted Damon Jackson last November, UFC 309. Last time Jim Miller was finished, Ken Flo, Charles Oliveira, 2018.
Yeah.
A lot of people think Chase Hooper might get him this weekend. Who do you like?
If he does get him, I would then kind of be backing Chase Hooper here. I haven't always been on that train. Like Brian talked about, I think there were some growing pains when he first came into the UFC. He was figuring out how to get better as a striker. I think he has improved there. And has grown into his body a little bit more, looks stronger, and looks more confident as a result as well. But that's a big number. That is a very big number. And Jim Miller is a submission artist himself. He's not going to be an easy guy to get out of there. And if you are going to get him out of there with a submission or some kind of ground and pound, then you're going to have to hurt him big time on the feet. And I don't think Chase Hooper is quite that guy. I think the easy choice here would go, yeah, dude, Chase Hooper. He's younger. He's getting better, all that stuff. But I like Jim Miller here as well. And you might want to stick around. Maybe I put just a little sprinkle on that guy as well.
Okay.
Checking the live odds right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Jim Miller is now plus 525. So the number is getting even bigger.
Crazy.
Chase Hooper minus 750. Strawweight division. Vina Kakara Janjidoba minus 148. Yan Xiaonan is plus 124. I made a typing error when I sent you guys the odds, but Vina Janjidoba is minus 148 right now. She's won 4 in a row, submitted Amanda Lemos with an armbar last July, nearly fought Tatiana Suarez. Instead, Bri, it'll be Yan Xiaonan. Huge fight in the women's strawweight division. Who do you fancy here, BP?
Yeah, I like this fight a lot. It's going to be competitive. I think it's interesting because Janjidoba, which I nailed, thank you. She's a great grappler, but she's also really learning how to strike. I think early in the UFC, she didn't really blend it well together. She wasn't a full mixed martial artist yet. Now she is. Now she can stay on the feet because Yan Xiaonan is fast. She's got quick hands. She can box. She's great. But her biggest Achilles heel is in the past when she gets put to the ground, it's a bit rough. So if Janjidoba really clinches and really hunts for a takedown, it's going to be exhausting for Yan. It's going to be exhausting for both women. I think Janjidoba has to mix things up here. I'm very confident in her in this spot. I like the low number. I love a good low number. I'm going to put it in there. And I'm going to, probably put her in a lot of parlays this weekend for myself. I'm not a parlay player per se, but I like this spot. I like the low number. Get a nice little juice parlay. Give me Janjidoba. I think she'll win by decision. I don't know if she'll get her out of there. If she does, it will be by submission. Maybe later in the week, I'll have a stronger take. But right now, Janjidoba by decision.
Kemfo, Yan Xiaonan's going to need some style points if Zhang Weili remains the champion. She got her shot at UFC 300. It was competitive. She then responded with a win over Tabitha Ricci last November, but a lot of eyeballs on Janjidoba to see if she can break through and sort of cement herself truly as the number one contender. How do you see it playing out?
Well, Yan Xiaonan showed that she knows how to survive on the ground. She knows how to stop takedowns pretty well, and she's proven to be a potent striker. But, just like her potency on the feet, I think that Janjidoba, has a submission skill that is also potent. And I think that Janjidoba is putting it together much better, as Brian said. And I think if it was 5 rounds, I might lean the way of Yan Xiaonan. But because it's a 3-rounder, I like Janjidoba here. I think she's going to know how to control this fight, get her up against the cage, slow Yan Xiaonan down, and get to that back. And I think she will be able to finish. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets the sub here. Xiaonan has been improving her grappling a great deal, but I like Janjidoba here as well. Now I'm struggling with the name, huh?
All right, now featured prelim featherweight division. Sean Woodson minus 155, Dan 50K, Ige plus 130. Ige Bry 10-8 in the UFC after losses in 3 of his last 4, and that doesn't sit well with him. Dan Ige doesn't consider himself close to a 500 fighter. Very interesting spot for him here because Woodson, despite the 7-1-1 in the UFC, is experiencing a real significant step up in competition, despite the fact that he's won 4 in a row. I mean, Woodson hasn't lost since COVID-19, bro. June 27, 2020. Deserves the Ige fight. Now the question beckons, Bri, what does he do with it?
I like Sean Woodson. I like Sean Woodson's mentality. I like the way he's getting better as well. And he's finding, the guys, I know he's listed at 6'2", 6'3". He fights he's starting to fight like he's 7 foot now, right? With those long limbs, and it makes him look so much longer being at this lower weight. He's finally starting to do really good with his weapons. He's coming off a knockout win, which is great. However, his defense still worries me a little bit. This screams to me Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font. Yanez was the up-and-coming guy, ran against a vet like Rob Font. Rob Font was like, yo, you're not ready yet, right? Sean Woodson, 4 in a row, but Dan Ige has fought the who's who. He still has the power. His defensive wrestling is not great. I don't think Sean Woodson's going to really be a factor there. I think it's going to be on the feet. And I just think Sean Woodson's defense scares me enough that I'm going to go underdog Dan Ige. I'm really surprised by this line is too. This is something that you could load up on Dan Ige. I just think experience really matters, considering Dan Ige is not 40 years old. He has experience, and he's still right there ready to compete with some of the best in the world. And I think he gets Sean Woodson this weekend.
Fascinating matchup, Ken Flo, to see if Ige can find a way to let that long body hit the floor or if he's going to get jabbed up by Sean Woodson. I love the stylistic clash. We'll need a prediction if you'd be so kind, Ken Flo.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to see if Sean Woodson's going to be the real deal. But this is the most challenging matchup he has had. Dan Ige, as Brian talked about, has a ton of experience, and you can't forget about Ige's power. Now, Woodson, if he stays disciplined and if he minds his P's and Q's just like Lerone Murphy did, then he can absolutely win this fight. His length, his jab, those long-range weapons, his ability to establish that range and keep it can keep him on the winning side here. But Ige is probably going to find a way to get on the inside at least a few times per round. And if he does that, Woodson can get hit. Sometimes that chin is up in the air. To be long and tall is an advantage in many ways, but it's also a disadvantage in a lot of ways as well. And I think Ige, if his footwork is on point, which he's been improving, I think Ige can win this fight. Not to mention, I think Ige could take this fight to the ground and utilize his ground game. So give me Ige.
You can have him. Plus 130 right now. Plus 136, actually, the live on DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, now we get to the main card for UFC 314 live on pay-per-view, light heavyweight division. You guys were both looking down. You thought I was having like a fucking heart attack. I'm okay.
Yeah,
Nikita
right.
Krylov. You thought I was hurting or what?
I thought you were stretching back. I thought maybe you pulled something.
I might fall out of the
about
chair
you.
again.
Yeah, maybe something.
No.
I don't know. I was looking down.
Because unlike my mom's chairs, mine actually aren't.
Did you win that lawsuit, by the way? Have you won that lawsuit yet?
Yeah, Mom.
Okay.
Fucking sue your ass. Nikita Krylov minus 192. Dominic Reyes plus 160. Reyes has won 2 in a row. He is 35. Krylov has won 3 in a row. Now, Krylov hasn't fought since March of 2023. That was when he submitted Ryan Spann with a triangle. He has also beaten Alexander Gustafsson and Volkanovski during this active winning streak. He has finished 28 of his 30 professional wins, and he is favored near 2-1 this weekend over Dominic Reyes, Brian Petrie. Main card starts with you, my friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I was doing research for this fight, I was shocked. I mean, I could have, someone put a gun in my head and said, how old is Nikita Krylov? I would have said 47. The guy's 32, right? He's been around forever, and he's absolute nails. His biggest issue throughout his career is when guys been able to get him down, get on top, he kind of wilts, gets submitted. Dominic Reyes doesn't have that in his bag. Dominic Reyes, super athletic, coming off really two good wins, looking like the Dominic Reyes that kind of fought John Jones. He went through a ton of shit, ton of physical, ton of mental. It looks like he's coming back. He's got some good wins, and he still has that big power. He's got such a long frame that I don't know if he has it in his bag. He hasn't shown it. But if he developed a really good front choke, a really good Darce, a really good Anaconda, with those fucking long arms and that body, he would be something in there, right? But I just don't think he has. At least he hasn't shown it. But I like his power. I like his overall game here. I think he's gonna stay out of trouble if it does hit the mat, because I think Nikita Krylov does have some tricks on the mat. I like Reyes here. I never picked Dominic Reyes ever. No offense to Dominic Reyes, I just don't do it. But I like him here at the dog money. I think he can get it done. I don't know if he can finish a guy like Krylov, but yeah, give me Dom Reyes.
Kempflo, they're all chasing Magomed Ankalaev, a man against whom Nikita Krylov has experience. What do you think about this one at 205, kid?
This is a tricky one. I think that Krylov, I'm giving him the advantage here just because, you know, while he does have a ton of fights under his belt, I don't know if he has as much mileage maybe as Reyes. And Reyes has shown improvement. And again, to see him back and looking good again is awesome. I really like the way he approaches the sport, you know, true professional, all that good stuff. But I think Krylov's volume is going to be the difference here. Just his ability, even if he doesn't get the takedown, I think he just throws more. He stays a little active. Sometimes isn't so aware of his pacing. And if he gets too tired in round 3, that's where Reyes can take advantage and land one of those big shots. But I think Krylov, I think his pacing, his pressure may get to Reyes a little bit. Reyes has got to let those hands go. So give me Krylov here, and I'll go the opposite route here.
Nice.
Feels like sort of a chaotic way to begin the main card, one way or another, and that is just the way the UFC likes it. All right, featherweight division, Yair Rodriguez, -198, Patricio Pitbull, +164. Here we go, folks. UFC debut for Pitbull, and I got it right here in my notes. I couldn't find it earlier. UFC debut comes for him at 37 years old. Former 3-time Bellator featherweight champion, former Bellator lightweight champion. As big time a resume as any incoming UFC fighter has ever had. Bellator was number 2 to the UFC for most of his career, Brian. He's arguably the most accomplished fighter ever under that banner. Now, what does he have for the disturbingly dynamic Yair Rodriguez? Petrie, who do you love?
I mean, I love this fight. I love the matchmaking too, because it lets Pitbull know, like, listen, welcome to the fucking show. We got you a guy here who's been right there. Yeah, he's on a 2-fight skid, but you're here now. And Yair is just so dynamic with his kicks, with everything. But the problem I see in this fight for Yair is the grappling. A lot of people don't realize that Patricio Pitbull, he's low to the ground, he's short for the division, really covers distance well on the feet. Kind of like Alexander Volkanovski. He's only 5'6", but he fights a lot longer than he is. Pitbull does that really well. He's also fought a guy like AJ McKee, who's about the same height as Yair. Not as dynamic, but the same height, and he's done well on the feet. But I think the wrestling is going to come into play here. I think Pitbull on top. You know, Yair Rodriguez has thrown up some submissions. He got Brian Ortega, which I know is an injury, but he calls that injury. He is crafty off the bottom. You know, he submitted Josh Emmett. I just think Pitbull's at a different level when it comes to the ground. I think that's one leg of his game that a lot of people don't realize. I think on the feet, I think he gets tuned up. On the feet, I think Yair Rodriguez has his way with him. He got knocked out a few fights ago in Japan. The chin has been tested before. He's not getting younger. I say play on the feet a little bit, utilize your leg kicks, get the fight to the ground. And I like Pitbull here by decision. I love the underdog money as well. I'm gonna play him over. I'm gonna play him by decision too. Give me Pitbull making a nice little debut.
BP locked in and prepared on a Monday. We appreciate the early week handicap as usual. Ken Flo, Yair Rodriguez won the UFC's interim featherweight championship February 12th, 2023. Brian mentioned the 2 straight losses since. Hasn't fought more than a year. Fought Brian Ortega. Pitbull turned pro in 2004. We were covering him regularly, Ken Flo, on ESPN MMA Live. Last fight, a successful title defense against Jeremy Kennedy, March of 2024. Flo, go ahead.
These last 4 fights on the main card are redonkulous.
Insane.
So this is first of all, I want to correct your pronunciation. You guys are saying Pitbull. It's Pitbull.
Oh, my bad.
It's
yeah.
Pitbull. He's Brazilian, guys. I just want to make sure John gets that right on the broadcast. So Yair, it's tricky because you never know kind of what he's been working on. He kind of moves in silence, and I would like to think that he's improving on his grappling game, particularly his wrestling, and of course his guard game. I think he's going to need that. I think Brian is spot on with that. And I think we're going to see that. The other thing is going in there for the first time against someone like Yair Rodriguez, adjusting to that level of speed is not going to be easy for someone like Patricio Pitbull. As much as experience as he has, I think seeing that level of speed is just going to be different. And Yair can bring that chaos and that speed and that level of angles and all that stuff. It's hard to get a read on him early. So for Pitbull, he's got to get off to a good start. And you never know how someone's going to react once they get into the UFC. I know he's been fighting in some, a ton of big fights. I don't necessarily, see him caving to the pressure here, but it is different. And I think Yair's dynamic game is going to pose some problems for him. But no question, Brian, that I think the easiest path to victory for Pitbull is to work those takedowns and utilize his ground game. He's an effective striker as well, but that's where Yair is going to shine. And I hope that he's been working on his wrestling game. If he hasn't, then, I like Pitbull here, but give me Yair Rodriguez.
And he has been nonstop. I don't know if it's a Russian or an Iranian wrestling coach that they have there in Chicago, but he's been completely all in, locked in Chicago with Nacho Bahamondes and Bilal. So we'll see, right? Sometimes you can literally do nothing but wrestle, but you can't close a lifelong gap. And then Patricio Pitbull sort of imposes his will. Can't wait to see it play out. All right, we stay in the featherweight division. Jean Lord Silva, minus 325. Bryce Mitchell, plus 260. Bryce Silva, 28, 4-0 in the UFC with 4 knockouts dating to the debut January of 2024. 15-2 as a pro. He's won 12 in a row. Streak figures to get put to the test here, though. Arkansas's Bryce Thug Filthy Mitchell, 8-2 in the UFC after a strong effort in finishing Crone Gracie last December. Petrie, what do you make of this one? Jean Silva, the favorite, or Bryce Mitchell, the dog?
I love that they put this fight together. Bryce Mitchell got in some hot water with some bullshit that he said a while ago. And they're like, hey, this is your punishment. You got to fight Jean Silva. And Jean Silva is a fucking wrecking ball. Like, this dude don't give a fuck, right? He fights and he has all his emotions come out all at once. He's smiling, he's laughing, he's crying, he's whatever. They're both crazy. Let's make it about it. Bryce Mitchell's probably going to bring a Bible somewhere with them. This is good. He's going to put it in the octagon again, or maybe at the press conference. Things are going to get very interesting this week. With that being said, it's your classic striker versus grappler. Bryce Mitchell desperately needs to get this fight to the ground, I think. And Jean Silva needs to keep this fight standing. He's patient on the feet. He's powerful with everything he does. Even his little leg kicks. It's not like Alex Pereira, don't get me wrong, but those little leg kicks really affect guys when he strikes them. And even though he's absolutely out of his mind crazy, which I love, he's very patient when he strikes. He picks his shots well, and he knows he has this unforgiving power that's only going to take one. So why rush? Why do anything? Charles Jourdain took him down 3 times. He got Charles Jourdain out and knocked him out, but he took him down 3 times. So can Bryce Mitchell do that? Maybe. Bryce Mitchell's a better takedown artist than Charles Jourdain. But I don't see it happening. I think Jean Silva, man, I think this dude is powerful everywhere, even strong. I think Bryce Mitchell, when he fought Ilia Topuria, I saw that live. He got tossed around. I know he was sick in that fight. I see the same happening. I don't see success for him here. I think if they're going to make him, Jean Silva's going to make him stand up. And I see a big knockout coming for Jean Silva here. I mean, I literally, if you gave me $10,000 this weekend, John, for a main event challenge, I could have maybe put all of it on Jean Silva. 10 grand. That's how confident I am. This is an absolute moral lock. I hate giving out such a broad pick at minus 325. He's probably going to grow. But, man, I just don't see any path to victory for Bryce Mitchell. No disrespect to Bryce Mitchell, but I think Jean Silva has all the bases covered here. I like him big.
It's actually going the other way right now. Jean Silva minus 278.
Wow. Hey.
And Bryce Mitchell is plus 225. So the plus 260 on Bryce Mitchell. She gone. Ken Flo. Jean Silva, Bryce Mitchell. Who do you have?
Yeah, I don't think this is a fight that was made. I think they're feeding Jean Silva Bryce Mitchell. That's what I think is going on here. And I think that Jean Silva, he gonna eat. And the way that they match up, Jean he's such a clever striker. He's such a smart fighter. And, if there's one guy I could see actually maybe holding the belt and keeping it for a while, Jean Silva might be that guy. I think I'm that kind of impressed when I watch him fight. Bryce Mitchell, I think, is fighting really, really well right now, but he does have this tendency of throwing a punch, dropping his hands, throwing a punch, dropping his hands, and kind of watching his work a little bit. You do not want to do that against someone like Jean Silva. If he's able to hit some takedowns, listen, I think that Bryce Mitchell can win this fight on the ground. I think his submission game is probably going to be better than Jean Silva. I'm still waiting to see more ground game from a lot of these fight nerds from Brazil. I think they're a fantastic team, but I want to see more of their ground game, but they're not letting people take them down. That's the problem. But give me Jean Silva here. I'm with Brian. I think he's a big favorite, and give me that minus 278, boys.
Woo. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Part of me really hopes that Bryce competes well, because I do think that even though he might be equipped to handle some of the weight of the world on his shoulders, there's a whole lot of it, and I just think he's going to be walking into a lot of unique navigations during this fight week. Yeah. All right, lightweight co-main event scheduled for 5 rounds if need be. Paddy Pimblett minus 162, Michael Chandler plus 136. Kemflo will lead with you here on the co-main event. Paddy Pimblett turned 30 back in January, really coming into his own, if not his fighting prime. 6-0 in the UFC, triangled King Green. That was last July. And now he draws the soon-to-be 39-year-old Michael Chandler, who's lost 4 of 5 to fall to 2-4 in the UFC. That does not sit well with Iron Michael Chandler. We'll see if he can get on track this weekend. Kenny, take it away.
You could get a ton of experience in the UFC, and you can certainly go through that maturation process and get better and learn from that. But I think that if you really want to get mature, you have a kid, and Paddy Pimblett has twins right now. So I think that's a great way to get that maturity in that motivation, by the way. And I think I'm seeing that out of Paddy Pimblett. The way that he's training, you could see it in his body. He just looks in phenomenal shape for each and every fight now, last few years. And I think that was the big change. I think that, right now he's learning from past experiences. He's getting better. He's getting more comfortable. He's learning how to put it all together. I think he's made huge improvements with his takedown game offensively. But he still does show vulnerabilities on the feet and getting hit. And Michael Chandler, he's got some serious power. The one thing about Mike, he's extremely fast, but he does telegraph a lot of what he's throwing. So he's got to hide those punches behind quality feints. And that will kind of deteriorate for Chandler as the fight moves on. So early on, watch for Chandler to get up in the face of Paddy Pimblett and land those huge shots. That's where I think Michael Chandler has the best chance of winning this fight, is early in this fight. Now, Paddy Pimblett has shown to have an amazing chin. He's extremely durable. But when Chandler gets you hurt, you really got to be careful. My big problem with this fight, though, and maybe being all in on Chandler, is that it's really hard to bet on a guy that, because he has so much confidence in his game, and because his willingness to entertain fighters is greater than his willingness to want to win, he doesn't always make the best decisions. And it's just hard to rely on a guy like that. And Chandler could definitely win this fight by knockout, but Paddy Pimblett is the more consistent performer here. And I think if this fight goes to the ground, I think Pimblett has a great shot of winning it. I think he may struggle a little bit with some of the takedowns, but if he can catch a leg or capitalize on a slip or get Chandler tired, I think Pimblett wins this fight. But so give me the man from Liverpool, Paddy Pimblett.
Patrick Mark Pimblett, -162 in and around there on DraftKings Sportsbook. Bry, if Chandler loses this weekend, and the betting line is expectant that he will, he's 2-5 of the UFC with a UFC winning percentage of 29%. Do you think Chandler can avoid the fate this weekend?
Well, I was so curious at who Kenny picked there. This is the one that I've been chewing on since it was announced all weekend. It's like a fucking cheap steak in my mouth. I keep chewing on it, can't get rid of it. I came to the conclusion today. Today at work is when I settled on who I was going to pick. Listen, I'm not a guy that dislikes Paddy Pimblett. I think he is great for the UFC. I'm not the hater. Us MMA fans at times, we're like those like really like dorky like guys who go see a band at like some club, like some shithole club, and then the band makes it, and all of a sudden they don't like the band anymore because they're too mainstream. Everyone loved Paddy Pimblett at Cage Warriors. Oh, Paddy, the Paddy. He comes to UFC, all of a sudden it's always trash, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. I've always loved the guy, and I think the UFC's done really, really well with him, with his progressions, with who he should fight because of the star potential he is there. Kenny's dead on with his striking. His chin's still in the air. He's getting really good with his kicks, and his kicks were really good to the body and to the head. His low kicks now against Bobby Green were very, very good. Chandler is very susceptible to low kicks. My only complaint about Paddy right now is Kenny mentioned it, like not to complain, but Kenny mentioned how big he's looking. He's looking absolutely enormous in there. For a guy that used to fight at 45, now full body 55er, looking great. He beat the shit out of Tony Ferguson. I mean, go rewatch that fight. He fucked Tony Ferguson up, and Tony's so goddamn tough that he's not going to get out of there. But other than that, like, he looked phenomenal in that fight. And I'm worried about Michael Chandler in that aspect. But Michael Chandler's got that one thing. 2-4, 2-5 in the UFC doesn't matter. He's going to be must-see TV. every fight, there's a moment with this guy. Every single fucking fight. His last fight with Charles Oliveira, I thought he looked pretty good. He defended the back really well. He got his back taken multiple times. He was doing jumps. He was doing slams. He didn't give a shit. He also landed a really clean right hand that buzzed Chandler. Buzz Oliveira, excuse me. If Chandler knows how to poise himself, because I think he's going to catch Patty. It's going to have to happen within the first 2 rounds. If he poises himself, I think he can get Patty out of there. And the fact that he's plus money, and I've already painted the board with a lot of dogs. Give me Michael Chandler. I think he's going to get it done here. I'm rooting for Patty because I think the future in the UFC and his star is unlimited. But, man, it's hard to back against a guy like Michael Chandler who's been in there with the best. And his record is 2-4, whatever. But look who he's lost to. Oliveira twice, Poirier engaged. He's not losing to bums. He's losing to high-level guys in exciting fights. I like Chandler, though, begrudgingly.
All right, quickly to the main event, featherweight division for the undisputed title. Alexander Volkanovski minus 148, Diego Lopes plus 124. Live number, little movement, Diego Lopes down to plus 110. So the decorated former champion Volkanovski in search of his first win since July of 2023 when he stopped Yair Rodriguez in what was a unification bout. 14 months now, Ken Flo, since Volk's lost to Ilia Topuria, seems to be in fine fettle. Do you think he has what it takes to take care of the upstart, the oncoming force that is Diego Lopes da Silva?
And 14 critical months, Sean, because when you're experiencing something like back-to-back knockouts, mentally, physically, spiritually, you need that break. And Volkanovski he was never capable of taking that break and giving himself that time off. Having that time off, I have way more confidence in his ability to perform and for his chin to withstand some of those big shots that Lopes will, inevitably throw. Lopes is extremely dangerous. He's good everywhere. And the UFC would be very happy to have either of those guys as champs. Volkanovski, though, he's got a different look in his eye. For his last 2 fights, we kind of had a jokey Volkanovski, a guy that was kind of more relaxed. And I'm not saying he was absolutely comfortable as champ, but it was just kind of a different attitude. And this time around, I'm seeing an angry Volkanovski, like his eyes are a little bit darker. And for a lot of fighters, they need that. And maybe it's not the hunger. Maybe it's just this willingness to want to win by any means necessary. And I see that in Volkanovski. Lopes is a hungry contender with a hell of a lot of skill and talent, with some size that could pose some problems for Volkanovski. But ultimately, why I made the decision on Volkanovski is that Volk has fought guys like Diego Lopes, but Diego Lopes hasn't fought guys like Alexander Volkanovski. And for me, that was the difference. I have to go on what I've seen and what I've experienced. And for me, Volkanovski is the favorite for a reason. I like the line there. I think Lopes will be back and challenge for the belt and maybe a champion of the future. I'm just not sure his time is now.
I think you have a great read, and I actually got a chance to spend some time with Alexander Volkanovski on the front end of this training camp, but I do think angry in an operative and good way could be a good sign for the Volk man. Jokanovski not walking through that door. He's pissed. He's ready to go.
I like
All right,
that.
we'll take a main event selection. Who do you think leaves the 305 Brian Petrie as the undisputed UFC featherweight champ?
It's kind of scary because everything Kenny just said about the way Volk is carrying himself, and I had the same fucking thing. The guys in my brain, it's getting a little scary. I respect Volkanovski so much, not only just because he's an incredible fighter, but the person he is, and I love the honesty he has. I love that he's embracing and talking about, I was nervous. I got knocked out. Like, what am I going to do? I love the freshness of that. Fighters are so stubborn and whatever, and I'm an open book myself, so I really, really respect him, and I respect his skills as well. You look at the Topuria fight. He did well the round 1, and then he just didn't change anything up, and then Topuria read him, he got caught. His entire team, from Joe Lopes to him, took that on the chin and said, that's on us. We fucked up. We need to get better. A lot of people don't do that when they lose, right? A lot of people, they have some excuses there, whatever. Yeah. I love that. I love that with that team, and I think we're going to get the best Volkanovski we have seen in a while, and you need it because Diego Lopes comes out like a bat out of hell, super aggressive, very big for the division as well, and is strong and can light you up on the feet early. If you're a betting man, which I'm assuming if you're watching this segment, you are, I would take Diego Lopez with inside rounds 1 and 2. I think it gets outside of there. I think it's all Volkanovski. And I think it gets outside of there. I think Volkanovski takes us to deep waters, and I think he drowns them. You look at Diego Lopez when he fought Dan Ige. Yes, it was on like 2 hours notice, but he dropped that 3rd round. We've seen him smoke guys within 1 and 2, usually round 1. But when it gets extended, and he's never been 5 rounds in UFC, when it gets extended, that's when their questions are going to start coming up. I think Diego Lopez is a phenomenal fighter. He's with a phenomenal camp. He will fight for the title, maybe even hold the title one day, just not this Saturday. Give me Alexander the Great. I like Volkanovski here.
Volk will be 37 in September, still not that old.
No.
I do, for me, from a handicapping standpoint, throw out that whole Lopez-Ige equation.
Okay.
I just feel like, well, I love you, but I just feel like what was asked of Diego was so fucking insane, that like it was so against his better judgment to take that fight. Yes, it all worked out because he got the title fight, but my God, man, like it was just one mind fuck after the next with the weight cut. It's this, it's that. Anyway.
Sure. It's a lot.
We got to play some bets because you guys have $3,000 to spend. Place Your Bets is presented by Total Wireless. You both were in the positive last week. Petrie, lone action bet for you. A straight wager hit on Chong Ho Lee. Ken Flo, lone action bet for you was the straight wager on Brad Tavares. So $1,000 for UFC Fight Nights, $3,000 for UFC 314. Brian Petrie, I know you're tempted to go $3K on John Silva by knockout, but how are you spreading your cash if that is the operative verb?
Yes. So I got to admit something to the people. Listen, this is how fucking everyone should respect Kenny Florian for numerous reasons. But 2 weeks ago, he told me Jordan Vizenik, see, I can't pronounce his name anymore. He's like, his jiu-jitsu's not that good. I loaded up on him, I lost. Last week, I had Joannis and Brito written down, and Kenny kind of poo-pooed on his jiu-jitsu and said, I don't think it's that good. So I crossed him out and went, holy, so I got some money. So thank you, Kenny, even though we're playing against each other. Listen, I'm going to go $2,000 on Jean Silva. It was almost going to be the 3. Some people don't like when I just do all that. They like when I spread the money out. So I'm going to go 2,000 Jean Silva. Give me a little parlay, which I don't usually do, but God damn it, let's do it. Vinja Janjoba and Pitbull plus 335 currently on DraftKings. Give me, that's $500 right there. Nice little juice parlay. Give me 250 on Jimmy Miller. I can't pass up on that number. I mean, we're taking crazy pills if you don't want to put a little something on that. And then the number's not out yet, Johnny. I'll get it to you, but Julian Erosa by sub 250 on that as well.
Okay. And just so you know, I'm giving you the minus 278 instead of the minus 325 on John Silva for 2K, and
Even
plus 500 for Jim Miller is what we're going to lock in on that.
Perfect.
All right.
I'll take
Ken Flo, $3,000. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to take 100 on Jim Miller.
Okay.
I'm with you, Brian. Just a little sprinkle, sprinkle.
Little taste.
And Brian, I think you're crazy to go $2,000 on John Silva. That is nuts. You got to be absolutely crazy to do something like that. That's why I'm going to put 2,400 on John Silva. And I'm going to do $500 on No Joke VOLK.
Nice.
Volkanovski, and we will lock that in for you at minus 130.
Yeah.
All right, place your bets today, presented by Total Wireless. Brian Petrie, the MMA Takes podcast in your life later this week. At Brian Petrie, MMA on social media. Much love, buddy. Keep the haircut, man. I'm telling you, don't listen to the ladies. You look great. I'll talk to you,
I'll see you boys
next week. There he is, Brian Petrie, with us on the Anik Florian podcast. And before we get on out of here, one final note. As you know, we have partnered with LeafWell, driving force in the medical cannabis and plant-based medicine community. 420's creeping. April 7th today, less than 2 weeks away. Huge discount for you now through April 20th. How about 42% off your medical cannabis card, whether it is your first time or it is a renewal? LeafWell.com/Anik, available in 39 states. All right, thank you all for joining us today. Thanks to John Morgan, Ray Longo, Brian Petrie. Our producer is Cody Merrow. I cannot wait to hit the pavement and head down to Miami for UFC 314. Volkanovski versus Lopez. We'll see you live on pay-per-view Saturday night, and we'll be back, I think, live 11 a.m. or so Eastern Monday morning on YouTube on the 14th to recap it all. With that, for Ken Flom, John Anik, thanks for watching and for listening. 10 years in the can, right back at it next Monday. Until then, you'll later.
I love this shit.